Hello one and all, this is Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. This time around, WWE 2K24 for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Of course, WWE 2K24 is the yearly tradition, the yearly release of the WWE games that always looks to take what it did in the previous games and make it better, grander, more profound, and give you something unique in every installment, and that trend continues here in the best way possible, though there are some flaws here and there. When it comes to the gameplay, it is rooted in what we've seen in the last two WWE 2K games, with the combo system being prevalent, where you can utilize light attacks, heavy attacks, and grapples all blending into one combination. So say if you hit two light attacks and a heavy attack, that could be a combo, or hitting two heavy attacks and a grapple, and that could be a combo. That could also lead to a grappling situation that you could throw an opponent into the ropes and perform a big rebound attack. One of the more interesting additions when it comes to the gameplay is the fact that you can actually reverse Irish whips into the ropes this time. Of course, the reversal system that has been seen in the last two games is also here, where you can utilize, in the case of the PlayStation 4 or 5, the triangle button to pull off a one-button reversal if you time it properly. The game does give you cues. Now, there are some moves that are unable to be reversed, and it's one of the plagues of this franchise going back to the PlayStation 2 era, where you'll find one wrestler with that one move that you just can't reverse, and you'll be stuck in a loop no matter what. There's also the combo breaker system that allows you to stop a combo if you can figure out what attack is coming next. So if you say hit the square button, if you're playing on the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, and that opponent is trying to do a light attack, you will break their combo because you predicted properly that they were going to perform a light attack. The meter system that was associated with all of the WWE 2K games, with that momentum bar allowing you to pull off a signature maneuver, or in this game, utilize some of that bar to instantly recover and get off of the mat if you're taken down. So there is a little bit of a wager, a gambling situation when it comes to how to use your meter now. Instead of just using it as a signature maneuver to store a finisher, you can utilize it for instant recovery to maybe get the jump on your opponent when they think they have the advantage. But instant recoveries can be stopped too. They can be reversed as well. So if you do it and the opponent is very close to you, they may be able to stomp you right back down to the mat, which is of course a waste of your meter. Also associated with the momentum bar is the returning payback system that provides a one-use special maneuver, such as stealing the finisher of your opponent, or in the case of some of the newer ones, throwing a fireball, or even temporarily freezing your opponents by begging off. And if you're able to capitalize upon that freeze, you can hit them. Certain wrestlers actually have super finishers, so if you are able to store up 3 finishers, you can pull off a super finisher, which is this grandiose version of whatever that character's finisher is. Like, for example, Cody Rhodes hitting 3 crossroads, or someone like Sheamus using the Irish curse backbreaker to set up the bro kick for a potential pinfall situation.
Rhodes looking to finish it here. Crossroads connects, but he's not done yet, Byron. Really wants to put an exclamation point on this matchup.
The game allows you to switch between the slider or the tapping of the button to break up pins, and of course submissions. And it must be noted that when it comes to submissions in this game, especially against the AI, it feels like it's very much overpowered in favor of the AI. It becomes rather difficult to not only stop submissions but also succeed in them when you're playing against the AI, no matter the difficulty. There are several gameplay issues that still rear their ugly heads from the previous entries in the franchise, including the targeting system not being the best when involved in multiplayer matches, or ladder stability when in the middle of a TLC or ladder match, and even the referees having a delayed reaction when it comes to counting down a pinfall. Another new implementation for the gameplay is the trading blows sequence. It's a sequence that will play out if you hold down the light strike button that allows for you to have a fist fight in the middle of the ring with your opponent, that may or may not end in your favor depending on if you're able to hit the spot on the meter properly. One of the best implementations involves tag team action. They have designed wrestlers can only enter the ring once to stop a pin or a submission and can't re-enter unless they're tagged in. This now prevents the headache that it was tag team matches, because you could go for a pin or submission and know you had the match won, but of course the partner runs in and breaks up the pin, and it goes on and on and on and on, and it makes it a frustrating experience. This implementation for tag team matches is one of the best, most player-friendly additions to the gameplay and to the overall franchise. Very similar to the WWE games of old, this builds off of what was seen in the previous game when it comes to not only modes but also match stipulations. We have the returning special guest referee, which has been asked for so many years, and they've upped the ante by giving the player the ability to play it straight or be very lenient, or maybe leaning into a more heelish role where you can actually help one of the wrestlers, taking off the turnbuckle, counting fast, or even ringing the bell before someone taps out, a la the Montreal Screwjob. It gives more of a meaning to have special guest referee matches and more enjoyment, especially if you are the referee. There also are the returns of ambulance matches and casket matches, which are pretty much submission matches, but you have to put your opponent in a casket or throw them in an ambulance with the same mini game that you see when you try to perform a submission or try to stop a submission. One of the more interesting additions is the Gauntlet match, which is to a certain extent a customizable slobber knocker mode from the WWE Shut Your Mouth, where you are of course put into a situation where you have to take on a plethora of opponents one at a time, or even three at a time, or four at a time. While there isn't any grandiose reward for winning Gauntlet matches, it is something different, and that's what is so good about this game. WWE 2K23 focused on the idea when it came to gameplay of this is War Games. We had the War Games match finally in, and that was really it. That was really the only new addition, whereas with 2K24 it feels like you have a lot more when it comes to a single player aspect to enjoy. If you just want to play around, or especially play with friends, both offline and online. All of the modes that had become established in the previous games also return here from a single player aspect, including the 2K Showcase, with this iteration focusing on 40 years of WrestleMania, with over 20 matches highlighting some of the grandest moments in WrestleMania history, with a gameplay style that is still similar to what we've seen in the past when it comes to the 2K Showcase, and that is to complete a certain number of objectives so you can progress throughout the match, see cutscenes interwoven in the match with Corey Graves in this iteration giving commentary and backstory over what's going on before you are rewarded with a victory and unlocking certain characters and even new arenas. One of the biggest helps compared to 2K23 and 2K24 is the fact that they've added more text in terms of explanation of how to perform certain maneuvers, which was a troublesome woe for certain players depending on what match they were involved in the previous iteration of the 2K Showcase. But of course they have a lot of wordiness to these texts, and it makes it a little bit difficult to see, especially when it comes to directions with the left analog stick. Also, there is no checkpoint system still in this mode, so if you say get submitted by Kurt Angle while you're playing as Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania 20, you will have no choice but to restart the entire scenario all over again. Universe mode, similar to the 2K Showcase, is pretty much what you would expect from it. Nothing much more and nothing much less. In the previous game they added the ability to focus on a singular superstar during the universe mode and wrestle with that star. Or you can do the classic style and shape the shows as you see fit. While there are some added cutscenes and even redone cutscenes, and when it comes to superstar mode and universe mode, there is a lot more, say, post-match interactions or even pre-match interactions that you can add to the rivalry that you're having with that particular wrestler that you're playing with. Universe mode still feels just like it did in the previous game, and one of the biggest flaws from that game that flows into this one is the lack of promos, which was a big deal in the previous universe modes. And this, once again, does not have that, which is very unfortunate because that was one of the big takeaways and wants for the return of universe mode in 2K24. My GM mode, however, gets a big update compared to what was seen in 2K23 with more tag team implementations, new GM options, and even a new brand in the form of ECW, which actually is quite limiting because in the ECW brand you don't have a women's champion. Depending on how you play my GM mode, you will be put against not only different difficulty settings in terms of how the AI treats you, especially if you're playing against the AI and not another human. You also have the abilities after big pay-per-views to perform trades between the general managers. You can choose to, as you progress through the season, to have the option of unlocking more match types instead of just having all the match types available at the beginning, though you can switch the option to have all of the match types that are available in the mode at the beginning of each season. And you also have a tier system when it comes to unlocking, say, advertising or bigger buildings that is a little bit more in-depth than it was in the previous iteration of MyGM. That also goes into the idea of finding different talent that you can sign after the draft, where you have to pay with your budgeted money in MyGM to search for potential new superstars that you can sign. The biggest flaw when it comes to MyGM mode, once again, is the limitations of certain aspects. Even though we have more tag team focus than we did in the previous games, we still don't have the ability to have more than fatal 4-way matches, which is upsetting still because that means you can't have elimination chamber matches or some grandiose Hell in a Cell or even a War Games match. And like my GM mode, my faction also returns the card-based single-player and multiplayer-centric, where you're able to take certain cards, build up a deck, build your roster up, and take them into battle against either the AI and weekly towers that change, of course, weekly with different prizes and rewards. Proving Grounds chapters that are these increasing levels of difficulty in terms of matches and opponents, where you get more rewards and more tokens that you can spend in the shop to buy even more cards. And Faction Wars, which actually gets an overhaul compared to the previous two iterations. In this version, you have to utilize tickets that you can get from card packs or just from rewards from logging in or completing weekly towers or certain challenges to start something of a gauntlet run, up to 5 matches where at the end you have to take on a boss that will be very, very difficult depending on what kind of cards you have set up and who you're playing with. There are also live events that can change weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, where you're forced to use certain wrestlers to potentially unlock certain rewards. There's also an online ranking system. There's also a quick play option, so if you don't want to worry about ranks. But the biggest change to my faction after 2 years of players rightfully complaining about it is the fact that there are now persona cards. And these cards allow for you to actually utilize specific wrestler skins in offline action or even online action outside of my faction. Finally, when it comes to the single player offerings, there is My Rise. And once again, they split 2 stories between a man and a woman. The male story is titled Undisputed, and it focuses on the fact that you have the Dark Horse, a created character, will try to take up the mantle that has been left as Roman Reigns has vacated the Universal Championship after an historic reign. And it's almost immediate that you find out that the Dark Horse is looked upon less than favorably by not only management but also his peers, including Cody Rhodes, who believes it is his destiny to finish his story and win the Universal Championship even if it's not from Roman Reigns.
Is that like some kind of reverse psychology mind game?
Hell no. You make it to the final, I'm aiming to beat you just like I was going to beat Reigns.
Of course you were gonna beat Roman. Man, Cody, that must get under your skin.
Reigns running away to Hollywood.
On the opposite end, you have the Unleashed My Rise story, which focuses on a female character who started off as an indie star of a co-built promotion, getting the opportunity to shine under the bright lights of the WWE brand.
Sorry about the table, boys. But Shotzi asked for more from Miss TBD, so she got it. Thanks for the mic, Byron. And by the way, watch our show!
Well, that sure was something. For God's sake, hold on to your mic next time, Saxton.
Wow, Byron, that's the most action you've seen in years.
Now, very similar to Universe Mode and Showcase, My Rise doesn't shake up the boat, though it does give you new story offerings and sometimes even hilarious outcomes. The foundation of what the mode is still there through and through. You have your main story moments, you have your side quests that come either via a DM or interacting with a particular wrestler backstage. You will have some branching narratives here and there. And in the end, you have essentially a mode that lasts you anywhere between 12 to 30 hours, depending on how much you complete. A majority of the extras are still here. We have this extensive creation suite with not only the ability to create wrestlers, but also championships, shows, videos for your Titantrons, and even signs. Now, it must be noted once again that when it comes to creations, there are some limitations, including certain hairstyles, that some of the newer hairstyles may actually interfere with the usage of certain outfits, which still to this day doesn't make any sense. Online still is online when it comes to WWE games. You have your community creations where you can upload and download calls or superstar movesets or even particular shows like the AEW arenas. And then of course you can fight both ranked and just player-friendly matches against a variety of opponents if you see fit. It must be stated though, from a PC perspective, it has been a lot of reports of issues when it comes to online gameplay and even community creations when it comes to stability. Hopefully that is something that will be fixed in the very near future. But beyond that, technically the game is actually quite good. No major crashes or big bugs, other than a few audio hiccups here and there, though the audio is a lot better in this game, both from a commentary perspective and also an entrance perspective. Of course, the game looks absolutely gorgeous. As per the norm, there are some models, specifically more of the legends, that do not look like them. They don't look good at all. Overall, WWE 2K24 is an exceptional package. It builds upon the foundation that was set from 2K22, that was improved upon with 2K23. Yes, there is a lot of similarities between this and the previous game. Yes, there are some flaws here and there. But with all of that being stated, it's still a great WWE game. A must-buy if you're into the franchise, if you love WWE games, if you even enjoy them slightly, with a grandiose roster, a plethora of modes both offline and online, and most importantly, a very stable experience if you're not playing on PC, unfortunately. Just like 2K24 has built off of what happened in 2K23 and made it even better, making 2K22 and 2K23 mostly obsolete because it does almost everything as good, if not better, than those previous iterations. So there you have it. This has been Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. WWE 2K24 for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Now if you don't mind, I see a player has decided they want to test the American Dream Dusty Road, baby. And when the man who has dined with kings and queens and dined in the alley on pork and beans climbs that ladder, baby, they will have no choice but to say, Oh lordy.